I feel really bad for artists that have hit songs. And I know what you're saying. Will, like, I just would dream of having one hit song. I could retire early, sip margaritas all day on the beach. And to that, I would say, yes, that's obviously the end goal of life is sitting on the beach all day and drinking margaritas. But I feel bad for artists that have hit songs because the hardest thing they'll ever do is create that second song. Even if it's, it's probably likely not going to be a hit, they're going to fall into a sophomoric slump. That second album is going to suck. That second song is not going to be successful. But from time to time, you get artists that really know what's going on, and they create hit after hit after hit. And one of my favorite hits of recent times is the LIOBOX from GooRoo Controllers. And I'm excited to say that the team at GooRoo Controllers are hit makers. They have not fallen into a sophomoric slump because the LIOBOX V2 is absolutely amazing. What I'm going to do in this quick review is just share some of my thoughts on this, what's different from V1 to V2. And then at the end, I'll give you a quick kind of demo of what this does that makes it so unique and so special that no other hardware device can come close to doing, and no other piece of software can come close to doing for that matter. A couple notes up front, programming notes. Number one, this is not a paid review. Florian and the team at GooRoo did not say, Will, say this, say that. They did send this to me for free. So if you think that somehow clouds my opinion, then please stop this video and just go watch something else. Go hug a tree. I will say I did buy V1, and so I'm invested in that, and I loved V1. But again, version 2 is really, really amazing. Second thing is I'm not going to be able to show you everything and exactly how to set this up and use it with Ableton Live. If you want to see that, I poured hours and hours of time learning, diving into this to create my brand new using LIOBOX V2 with Ableton Live course. That's available to From Studio to Stage students. If you want to check that out, click the link in the description of the video. You can see that whole course, which is every piece of knowledge I have about this. Plus, you can go ask any questions you have. I'll be hanging out in the chat on all those and responding. Plus, you can join me for a weekly coaching call to talk about this and anything in your setup. Now, let's dive in. Let's talk about first what's different from V1 to V2. And then we'll kind of do a basic demo of the LIOBOX in general. So here's V1, V2. Size-wise, you can see they're really similar. Obviously, V1 has more smudges than V2. I'm doing my best here, but exactly the same size. If I flip this the other way, they look pretty identical this way. Now, if we flip them around, this is where the differences start to happen, okay? So on the back, you see one USB port on V1. We have two dual redundant USB ports on V2. What this means is I can use this in a redundant rig and have this connected to two different computers running identical Ableton Live sessions, and I have control over both of those. So right now, I give it away. Don't look at what I just did. I can play, stop, rewind, and control both of these sets. So if I press play, that's controlling computer A and it's controlling computer B, and they are perfectly in sync and exactly the same. And I have full control of those from this, which is great. So this is a huge feature to give you redundancy straight out of the box. To split MIDI between two computers is amazing. You don't have to use a MIDI splitter to do that, which is great. So that's a great improvement. Another improvement hardware wise is if you look on the back of V1, we have a MIDI out port here. On the back of V2, we have a MIDI in port as well as a MIDI out port. So I could still use the MIDI out port, plug in a 3.5 millimeter to 5-pin DIN adapter. So it's something like that. You can see there's my 5-pin cable, and I could plug a 5-pin cable into this, and then I could send MIDI out of Ableton Live to whatever piece of gear I want to through the LIOBOX. This is super helpful. For example, if you're a drummer with a Roland SPD sitting next to you, a guitar player with your neural quad cortex, sitting at your feet, and this is next to you. This is a real easy connection to make from Ableton through the LIOBOX to 5-pin, which is really great. But in addition to that, it's not just MIDI out. We also now have this MIDI in. And this leads me to talk a little more about our pad. So I can plug a MIDI in to this, use this 5-pin cable to connect to a foot switch of some sort, or really anything that sends MIDI. And I can actually trigger the pads on this from a remote MIDI device, which is really powerful. I'll demo that, show you how that works in just a second. But that leads me to the pads. Now, obviously I don't have V1 plugged in. It does light up, and I have these 4 pads here, but on V2, we get these really beautiful little LED lights. The name of the pads move up to the top here, and we can customize these. And kind of biggest improvement of all, I now have 4 banks of pads that are fully customizable to be whatever I want them to be. So bank 1 is going to function just like the LIOBOX V1 does. If I'm going to lock into that bank, I can hold this and lock the bank. I like that if you're kind of a dummy like me and a klutz. That's helpful just to have play, rewind, forward, and stop just locked. It'll function just like V1 in that case, which is really great. But again, we have these other banks. So let me show you. If I unlock the bank, go to bank 2, you can see I have this tune button. I'll show you what I did here. I customized this, and we'll talk about how this MIDI in plays into that. So let's go to our settings here. First thing I did is I enabled MIDI in. I can go to pad config. I'm on bank 2. Let's select this one. You can see I set this up so that when I do a short press, it's going to send a custom MIDI command. So let's select in there. We'll go to custom MIDI. It's going to send program change 6 on channel 16 from this pad. So what that means very practically, if I plug this into a MIDI out into something else, when I press this, this is going to send a MIDI command. Now I also renamed this tune. So this is turning on and off auto tune. This can be whatever MIDI command I want it to be. I can even go further into this pad config. I could change the color of this, which, you know, seems silly, but really helps you distinguish this on stage between different colors, or basically turn the color off if you wanted to as well too. So I really like that as well. And then I can select it to select that. But what's cool about this is what I've also set up on this pad is if I go into MIDI in trigger, I've activated that, and I've set this up so that if I send from my external MIDI device any MIDI note at any velocity on channel 16, it's going to trigger that same pad here, and it's going to send that MIDI message out to the same gear. So whether I press this or I trigger it from an external MIDI device, it's going to be sending MIDI the same way, which is really, really cool. So I really like this because you could customize these pads to do different things. You could have one pad do multiple things based on whether it's a long press, a short press, all sorts of really cool customizations. Now, so that's kind of the new stuff with LIOBOX, and that's insanely powerful. A fantastic update. If you didn't purchase a V1, I would highly encourage you to purchase V2. If you did purchase V1, I would consider the upgrade because I think those extra pad banks make it super powerful. The redundant MIDI ports are super powerful as well too. Now, at the end, I kind of teased this and I said, this is a kind of MIDI tool and a class of its own. What makes this so unique and what makes it so powerful? I'm going to walk you through just kind of the basics of the LIOBOX. If you never saw my V1 review or course or have used it, what makes this unique is this does not require an app to communicate with Ableton Live. It also does not require a Max for Live or Ableton Live Suite. So this works with Ableton Live Intro, Standard, or Suite. Now, spoiler alert, if you're actually running playback and doing this professionally, you want at least Ableton Live Standard. I would not use this with Intro, but you don't have to have Max for Live to make this happen. It communicates with Ableton through a remote control script that's very easy to install. You drop into a folder in Ableton and then it works right out of the bat. And the beauty of this and why this is so unique and nothing else can do this is from an external hardware controller. I have 2 modes. I have all tracks mode. I can navigate my Ableton set directly from this MIDI controller. That's a nice feature. I get a really beautiful screen. That's a really great feature. I could play this song. I could stop it. I could jump to this song. I could play that song if I wanted to, jump around really easily. That's really, really nice in and of itself, which is great. But here's where it becomes really powerful. Let me get out of all tracks mode here. Okay, let's go into our settings. Let's change our mode to setlist mode. And what you can see is setlist 1 is currently loaded. I have 4 songs in this set. I could scroll through these and play them if I wanted. I can jump to song 2 and press play. You can see song 2 right there. Let's jump ahead to this song, song 4. I can stop. And you can see I can navigate set list directly on this. And you may have kind of missed what I did here, but let's actually go on. Let's create a set list from scratch. Let's add a new Ableton set. We could rename this if we want to, but let's modify it. Let's add some tracks. So I'm just going to choose some songs here in my set. Okay. And that looks good to me. So we'll go back. There's my set list. I can modify it and again, move songs around. Let's select that one. Let's move September to be at the top, right? Which is great. Now let's load this set list. And so I now have 3 different set lists on my device. and I've loaded this set list in, and now I can go and navigate and
1,
play
2,
my song,
3,
right? So we can
4.
start at song 1 there if we want to,
Drums
song
in
2.
2.
What's really nice about this, one, let's go back to the fact this is redundant. So I just created a brand new set list of songs that are in my Ableton set. I programmed my Ableton set using my advanced playback method template. I have identical sets that are on both computers. I am creating a new set that is controlling both of these, and I never had to touch Ableton. I'm doing it directly from hardware. And this is just, nothing else can do that. It's an absolutely amazing piece of gear. And in fact, I think if you're a playback engineer, and meaning you're on stage playing bass, playing guitar, playing keys, playing drums and doing playback, this is the hardware controller you highly need to consider, because it can do all of that directly from the interface. And what's really cool about this, the way that this functions, let's go back to song 1. Okay. Let's see, what was song 1 here? I think Imagination. There we go. Oh, nope, it is September. There we go. So I'm on song 1. I can set up auto stop markers in my Ableton set. So when I get to the end of my song, it's going to automatically stop playback. In fact, I'll show you how I did that. So I have my LIOBOX connected. I created a auto stop marker here. So we get to the end of my song, it's going to automatically stop, and that stopped on both of my Ableton computers. But then what's cool about that is that means at the end of my song, I could set it up to stop, and it automatically is going to select my next song. And the only button I have to press to navigate my Ableton set on stage is play. Right, we get to the end of this song. Let's pretend it stopped. I press play. Let's pretend we get to the end of that song. Press play. And I'm navigating my entire Ableton set list pressing one button. And again, I can use the MIDI import to trigger that remotely, build multiple set lists directly from the screen, get redundant MIDI controls, send MIDI out of this. It's a hit, folks. It's a hit. GooRoo Controllers keeps getting them hit after hit. So if you want to check out the hit makers over at GooRoo Controllers and check out the LIOBOX V2, click the link in the description of this video. I should also mention, like I said, I have a full course showing you how to connect this, set this up with your Ableton session, as well as how to set up LIOBOX V1 if you want to check that out. But GooRoo Controllers and Florian, the team there, were kind enough to offer a discount for From Studio to Stage students. So if you want to figure out exactly how to use this, you also want a discount on your purchase of this, click the link in the description of this video to become a From Studio to Stage student, to see all the content we have there, to join our weekly coaching calls as well. And if you just want more info on this and want to go purchase this directly from GooRoo, I'll also put the link in the description of this video as well to head over there. Thanks so much for watching, and hey, we'll see you on the next one. If you want to talk more about this stuff, join me over in the community. That's where I'll be. Take care, everybody. Bye.